This Fish for Fun video was filmed on May the 19th, 2017. My wife and I invited my friend Bill Harris to go with us up to the tail race at Truman Reservoir because he was wanting a mess of fish. Bill was reluctant to go because he has a leg that's pretty bad and he was afraid that he couldn't negotiate all of the rocks and things that you have to climb over when you do tail race fishing. But we finally convinced him to go. The reason I'm just now producing this video is because my wife and I had been tail race fishing twice before this trip, and I felt like it would be too much on a multi-species fishing channel to send up 3 very similar videos at one time. So we're just now getting around to showing it to you. Come along and see if we caught old Bill a mess of fish. When we arrived at the lake, we found that the fishing conditions had changed. When we were there 2 weeks before, they were running water through 4 gates. Today they were only running water through 2 gates, and the water they were running was on the other side of the lake from where we wanted to fish. So we've either got to change the way we fish or go to the other side. And since the other side would be more difficult for Bill to handle, we decided to go ahead and try to catch them here.
When you were catching so many of them, it was right up there. Yeah, you don't need to carry that water around.
Huh?
You don't need to carry water around.
I didn't. I dumped it.
Oh. We're right up there, just a ways. I see that flat rock right up there, because I marked my spot. That's where you caught so many, right in it, right to your left.
With the water flowing on the other side, it's pushing the current directly at us. I've only been fishing a few minutes and I've already hung up and broke off twice. So we're going to have to use some technique that's different than what we used before. Feels like a white bass or maybe a wiper the way it's running. line, so I'm changing to 32nd ounce jigs. I was using 16th before. And I told my wife that what normally happens when you have shallower water and less current is that the rough fish, such as buffalo and carp and drum and maybe some catfish, will move in, and you'll catch fewer crappie and more fish that you're really not fishing for. After I hung up that last time, I changed rods. This one has 32nd ounce jigs on it, and so it also has 4-pound test line on it. So you have to be careful trying to land these larger fish on a 4-pound test line. One of my favorite things to do is try to catch larger fish on this light line. What seems to work for me is I set my drag real loose, and I use my finger on the side of the spool, and that way I'm in contact with the fish and I can tell how hard he's pulling, and seem to have more control that way. Notice I just made a series of real quick jerks on my rod. When these larger fish are taking out lines straight away, you need to turn them. And I found two ways to do that. One is to do a series of short jerks, and the other one is to move your finger in and out on the drag. something to change this constant pressure will usually turn them. I don't usually leave my camera on during the entire fight on these fish because sometimes it's 30 or 40 minutes, but I decided to leave it on this one, hoping that you would get a little bit of a feel for how long we're actually fighting some of these fish. An advantage that I have on this particular fish is that the current is moving straight in toward the bank, and they're not tending to try to run either upstream or downstream. This one is staying out pretty much in front, even moving to the side some, but it makes it easier to fight them when you have the current this direction. You probably heard my cell phone ringing. One of the pieces of advice I'll give you is don't call me on my cell phone when I'm fighting a fish, because I'm not going to answer. A disadvantage of having the current moving straight in is that fish tend to fight in close and shallow. Then you have the problem of them getting into the rocks. So either way, you've got problems with light line and a sizable fish. I love trying to land a big fish on light line. The best I've ever done was a 38-pound buffalo on 4-pound test line. That was about 5 or 6 years ago, and it took me 45 minutes to land him. This one's, of course, nothing like the size of that. I really don't know yet what kind of fish this is. I've had 3 or 4 glimpses of him, but not enough to know for sure what he is. I'm having trouble keeping this fish out of the rocks because I'm using a 5.5-foot rod. A lot of times I use an 8 or 10 foot rod up here on the riprap, and for some reason I just didn't bring those today. Come on, get out of there. Get out of the rocks. Well, I have a spoonbill foul hooked. I got a pretty darn good look at him there. That's why he was moving so slow. Old spoonbills don't move very fast. He looked like he might weigh 15, maybe even 20 pounds.
There, finally got away.
All that time.
Well, here we go again.
Oh gosh, I've got another one of them.
Well, feels like another catfish.
Buffalo.
Noise a drum. After I caught that last fish, Bill couldn't stand it. He decided he'd come down and give it a try. Got a hold of something right off.
That looks more like a wiper.
Run 4 or 5 minutes loud. No, I'm not allowed to get this big. Let's see what
Bill's 83 years old and he's an old bricklayer, and climbing up and down the scaffolding and ladders all those years has really done a number on his legs, so he kind of has to stay in one spot. Can't get too close to the water.
Bill's got 4-pound test line on. And he's trying to land Moby Dick.
By the way, that's my wife. You can see there behind Bill, and Bill tells me that she's already caught about 4 nice crappie.
I believe you're gaining on him now. Guy doesn't care whether he lands them or not, he just wants to see what they are. got up under that rock.
Get him out of there.
He's wedged up under there somehow. Well, we got his picture anyway.
I know a question I'm going to get on this video is why we didn't use a landing net on these fish, but understand that we came up here to fish for crappie and didn't anticipate needing a landing net.
You like catfish, Bill?
I thought that was Baxter. Is it?
Might be a white bass. Here, I'll get it, Bill. Let me get it.
That's 34 for that boat.
Yeah, I've got about 4 of them too.
Well, after I caught that little crappie, I talked the guys into leaving. I went down and filled the bucket with water and collected the fish we wanted to keep, and Bill kept 6 crappie and the catfish, and I kept 2 white bass for the cat, and we were on our way home. But it was quite a little trip, planned on the spur of the moment, and old Bill had a ball.